Hello, this is Milan back for my week 7 vlog for Acting Theory in America. This was our final week and we read just one essay by Dennis C. Beck titled The Paradox of the Method Actor, Rethinking the Stanislavski Legacy. This essay was in the Krasner book of essays. Overall, I think this piece summed up a lot of the things that we have talked about throughout the course. It went back to some things that we spoke about just in the first couple of weeks, and then tied into the teachers that we have discussed throughout this course. Beck discusses the iterations of Stanislavski's teachings and dubs them the three Stanislavskis, discussing what happened to Stanislavski's teachings as they were applied in different places around the world. Beck gives examples of theaters and groups and teachers who transformed Stanislavski's teachings while still focusing on that actor versus self, character versus self, which was the basis of a lot of Stanislavski's teachings. I really liked the beginning of this essay particularly, because at the beginning of this course, I had sort of discussed Stalinism and this overruling terror, and was not sure of how Stanislavski's teachings would evolve under such an oppressive regime. And I'm not familiar with that part of Russian history. My background is more in film, and I know that a lot of Russian film was greatly impacted as far as the content of the films and the purpose of the films. So I can only imagine, or could only imagine at the beginning of the course, as we were discussing Stanislavski, that this would come into play. So it was very interesting for me to read this part of Beck's article. Beck mentions that theater is a space where the status quo is often attacked rather than upheld, which I found interesting, and I agree that art is often made in protest or to challenge a societal ideal, and theater obviously could not play an overt role in anti-government sentiment under Stalin, but in some place with less political oppression, such as the United States, as Beck mentions, these teachings of Stanislavski could take more of a political point of view or an anti-government point of view in some cases. In my paper for this course earlier, I had written about Richard Odets and some of the content of his plays, and they were very working class empowerment type pieces. Beck does mention that the Moscow Art Theater is called lifeless at some point in its life, so you can only imagine that the creativity of the actors was stifled and they were playing more of these caricature parts. This essay ends by coming back to Meisner and Adler and talking about working on the stage, and overall I do think it gives some pretty good insights into what an actor should be doing on stage, what the kind of approach is, and how that all still ties back to the early Stanislavski teachings. He mentions that method actors should avoid self-indulgence and being, as he calls it, slavish to the script. So overall, I think that Stanislavski's acting system is still the basis of a lot of acting theory in America, but it has taken a transformation that maybe was never expected or never intended. Those are my thoughts for this week and for the course. Thank you.